the ACDP, and you'll also see Mr. Terry Lakota representing COPE, Congress of the People. So, much appreciation for the leadership who are present this morning. Some of the national leaders did ask to apologize because they've all got different engagements elsewhere, but I would like to really welcome all the leaders and representatives of the different political parties. Now, we all are aware of the fact that the elections of the 1st of November 2021 brought a new reality into South Africa, and that election result ended up with almost 77 hung councils in South Africa. And that brought the reality of coalition politics onto the table in South Africa. We're all aware of that. Since then, many things happened in South Africa, and there were all kinds of negotiations and all kinds of agreements reached. You will remember that on the 15th of December 2021, a coalition agreement was signed by these parties, not all of these parties, but it was signed in the Sheraton Hotel in Pretoria, and it specifically dealt with the 3 metros in the province of Gauteng. It dealt with the city of Tshwane, it dealt with the city of Johannesburg, as well as with Ekurhuleni. Subsequently, certain processes played out in those metros. MACO members were appointed, Section 79 chairpersons were elected in committees, and the coalition partners are eager to get things going and to start governing in terms of the coalition agreement that we've negotiated. And if I may say, South Africa is, with regard to coalitions, in the beginning of this process. It's early days. But I think when we will look back in future, perhaps at the coalition agreement that was negotiated originally and that is being amended and improved through the process, and we've got all internal process how that will be achieved, I believe will become the gold standard in South Africa in terms of how coalition agreements should be and what they should contain. And I think really that we are making good progress in that regard. I can assure you that we've gone through hours and hours of negotiations in different structures of the coalition arrangements that were reached. This morning, and the coalition agreements make provision for that. This morning we are amending our coalition agreement by amending some of our governments in some of these metros, and I think that is of huge significance and is very important in terms of stabilizing democracy, because the parties involved in this process are absolutely committed to service delivery, to good governance, to transparency, and all those principles are in this agreement. This morning we are happy to announce and to make it known to the media and South Africa that another political party has now joined the coalition grouping, and that specific political party is the Patriotic Alliance. And that's why Mr. Gauteng McKenzie is more and most welcome this morning, because the Patriotic Alliance is a very important player in the South African reality after the 1st of November. If anybody would do an analysis of the election results of the 1st of November, you'll see that the Patriotic Alliance made huge inroads in different provinces, and that they also play a role in different coalitions throughout South Africa, but also in the province of Gauteng. And we succeeded in negotiating, and it was not the easiest negotiations, obviously, because that is what negotiations is about, but we succeeded where we are today, where the Patriotic Alliance will become part of the government in both the city of Johannesburg as well as the city of Ekurhuleni. And what we are doing this morning is that all the leaders are present. We will sign that agreement, which changes the composition of our governments in those 2 very important metros in Gauteng, and this is what we're going to do this morning. So welcome for everybody present, and we really appreciate your being here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give an opportunity to each one of these leaders to say a few words from their side in terms of where they perceive things to be, the way they see things to go forward. What we will do then is we will then sign formally the coalition agreements, which changes these coalition governments. We will formally sign that, and then we will give an opportunity for questions from the media. So that is what we're going to do this morning, and I want to start off and ask Mr. John Steenhuisen, representing Democratic Alliance, to come say a few words. Please, John. You've got a mic, but there was a request that you speak from here, please, from the media side. Thank you.
Thank you very much to you, Corné, as the chairperson of this morning, as well as to the media that have made themselves available to come and cover this, I believe, historic day. And of course to the leaders of the parties that we've been working with, as well as our provincial leadership that are reflected, as well as other party members. But of course, a big welcome to our new partner in development, stability, governance, and prosperity for our people in these municipalities where we govern, Mr. Gauteng McKenzie of the Patriotic Alliance. I think that if anything we took away from the State of the Nation address, and certainly the ANC's response to the State of the Nation address, where speaker after speaker essentially contradicted the President's stand that he had taken in SONA, and then the President's pretzel-like explanation of his SONA, followed up by his confidence that he showed in the ministers that he has appointed, which we all know are not working. We have a large cabinet, it's too big, it's not achieving results. And if you look at every single area of suffering where our people are struggling, whether it's people who get up at 2 in the morning to queue for an ID document, a birth certificate, or some other document from Home Affairs, to people who stand in the rain and the blazing sun and in some instances snow to access their SASSA grant, wherever you see one of our people of suffering in South Africa, it is mainly a failure of government to be able to achieve it. And so I think that South Africans now look with great hope towards these coalitions that we're putting together, to give them some glimmer that life can be different for them and that things will start happening in their lives. 30 million of our people remain trapped in poverty. They live below the poverty line in South Africa. Many, many people, almost half our adult population are without work. Our young people have the highest youth unemployment rate in the world. This is not a pleasant environment for so many of our citizens to live in. And so what we're demonstrating by bringing these coalitions together is showing that there is a different way for South Africa. There is a different path for us to tread, and that we can start to deliver in ways that make a meaningful difference in alleviating the suffering that far too many of our citizens suffer under. And so these coalitions, I believe, represent a beacon of hope in a rather bleak political landscape. And if we can get this right, if these partners here, who represent different political parties, and yes, have different views on a number of matters, can put the petty politics aside to be able to come together around a common objective as outlined in the coalition agreement, I think it shows that the parties at this table are serious about the people of South Africa, they're serious about the country, and they're serious about the future of the people of South Africa. And I'm very, very proud to sit here today, and I made a point of making sure I was here today because I fundamentally believe that the message that this sends out today is that these people here are the way of the future. They're going to be the parties that change South Africa for the better. Because whatever you say, the ANC will fall below 50% after the next election. And that's going to open up the era for a whole new opportunity for a better South Africa. And we'll finally break the logjam that has constipated South Africa's politics for far too long, and to be able to start a new era of good governance, of accountability, of transparency that will have been planted in each and every one of these coalition agreements and started to blossom and flower by the time those elections come around in 2024. So, to my colleagues, I look forward to working with all of you with an open hand and an open heart and an open mind towards achieving the goals that are set out in the coalition agreements that we're going to sign today. And look forward to this journey with all of you. And I think South Africans should be excited that this coalescence is starting to take place in their best interest. Thank you, Corne.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Can I call on John Moody from ActionSA to talk to us? Thank you, John.
Thank you, Corne. Good morning to you all. You know, since the advent of democracy in 1994, barring for a short period of time that Thabo Mbeki was the president of South Africa, the circumstances of South Africans has gone from bad to worse. If you look at and you have a chat with any person under the age of 34, in fact I'll say under the age of 40, and ask them if they have experienced prosperity since the advent of democracy, because those should have been the beneficiaries who should have excelled. And by that age in their lives should have already started to reach the pinnacle of the potential, you will hear that they will tell you that, in fact, they have been robbed of those opportunities, that their youth has been wasted. Opportunities have been stolen from them. Many of them haven't even started families because they cannot put food into their own stomachs. Then that tells you the dire situation we as South Africans face. And unless you have tasted of poverty, you will not understand the circumstances that those individuals, more so the youth, who should be the cream of the crop, that in 20 years from now must be leading this country, that they have given up hope and that they have lost those opportunities. So, 2021 came, and the people of Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni, and in many other municipalities have spoken. ActionSA is about removing the ANC from government, because believe you me, that is enemy number one to a prosperous South Africa. We need to remove that obstacle to a better and a brighter future for our people. I'd like to ensure that one day when I'm called to greater service, by God's grace, that I have done everything possible to ensure that my grandchildren and future generations have the opportunity to live in a prosperous South Africa. And here with me, at this table and here today, are leaders of other political parties who feel the same way about South Africa. We want South Africa to survive. We want South Africa to prosper. And yes, we have differences of opinion on certain things, but fundamentally, we agree on one thing, and that is that the ANC is the biggest enemy to South African prosperity. And that South Africa can survive if we but just stand together. And yes, we will continue to have our differences, but that is a new challenge, and to me, a very exciting period of time that we are going into politics. Because I believe that coalition government from here onwards is here to stay. Very soon we're going to find that across the country, you won't have one party that has over 51% of the vote to be able to sway their own way. And coalition government is just like any open economy. Competition is good. And I think that it just bodes quite good for us as South Africans. So therefore, the onus on us, leadership here, is we can't stuff this one up. South Africa is looking at us. We definitely can't stuff it up. And our own petty differences, we must set aside, because ultimately there's a bigger goal, and that is our South Africa and our people. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Yes, coalition politics is the reality, and we all understand that. Let me call on Mr. Gauteng McKenzie. Gauteng, and we would like to listen to Gauteng. Gauteng, as we all know, is the president of the Patriotic Alliance, and we are very happy and honored to have him here today. Gauteng, thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me start by thanking God Almighty, because, you know, I belong to a party that put God first, and there's a trend in our country where people believe in God, but they're ashamed to say it. So I want to use this opportunity to say that I am a God-fearing man, and I put God ahead of everything. And I want to start by thanking, I think I'll be failing if I do not thank you, Corne. You and your party, I mean, you never stopped. You never stopped. You know, you fooled me more than my partner. You never stopped and you never gave up. And I just think that you love this country. And you went on. And at the same breath, I would like to thank John and Helen. I can see why John was avoiding some of our meetings, because Helen is a very good baker and she would have lots of cake for us. So I just would like to start by thanking you guys for pursuing us. Then something is, and I won't be failing to say to all the leaders at this table, it is a great honor for us to serve alongside you now. It is a great honor for us in Tatelikota, my friend Bonginkosi, and Mr. Moody. It is a great ACDP. It is a great honor for us to be here. We've been very clear of all the parties. I think we were the only party that said, we don't care who we work with. We even went to the extent of saying we'll even work with the AWB if we have to. Because for us, we should not bring personalities into politics. South African politics is full of personalities. Who doesn't like who doesn't like that person. We at the PA, we want to say here today that we are very happy to be here to work with this esteemed gentleman sitting at the table. There's a problem in this country. It cannot be, as a person that's invested in mining, that the top 10 minerals of South Africa, of the world, we are in the top 10. If you look at all the top 10 minerals in the world, South Africa is in the top 10, but we got a 50+ unemployment rate. It cannot be. It cannot be that our women go to the hospital in Rahima Musa and they cannot give birth and they have to give birth on bunkers. It cannot be that our people can't have tuck shops in their own country. It just cannot be where our children can't get into a school that's 100 meters from them. And I joined this coalition hoping and praying and believing that things are going to change for our people. Our politicians, or politics has turned into the next phrase, point of order. That is all that they can deliver, those politicians. Point of order. When the most important thing I would like to say here, Corner, is that I have faced, you know, you mentioned at the beginning that the PA has grown. We are not a provincial party, we are a national party with a national footprint. And that doesn't just come about. You got to go to everybody to go and speak to them, and that's what we did. And what we found there, we found a cry for leadership from our people. We found a cry for, not for black or for white or for Indian or for colored. People want to live together. People want to hold hands. People want us to change this country together. And I think the esteemed gentleman on this table, at this table, 2024, I can tell you for free now, there's not a province, including John's province, the Cape Town, there's not one province, including Limpopo and Mpumalanga, there's not one province in South Africa that will be governed by one party. Not a single province from the Western Cape, where the DA is strong, to Limpopo, where the ANC is strong. There will be a coalition government. South Africans should brace themselves for a coalition government that is coming all over South Africa. There's no more, I hear people are fighting who's the next president of the country. I think we are seeing the last ANC president running the country, possibly. But in conclusion, we are not here for 2 days, for 3 days. We want this to be an example. And I have been in many coalitions, as some of you know. And I can tell you the one thing that should never happen amongst us is ego. And there's no big party in a coalition, because a big party does not need a coalition partner. If we can start knowing, believing that there's no big party in a coalition, I think we will hold this coalition together. And I want to thank all the media that came out, and I'll be failing to thank all the people that voted for the PA. As I said to you, we are going to make it. We've made it. Was Baizani. And I see that some of the people greet me now here today. Tate Dennis Bloom and Tate Likota and them. I'll take them to court because they say it was Baizani. Tate Likota was telling me outside, one of the funniest things, I'm standing outside and he comes, and I grew up under him, and he grabs me by the hand and he says, "Come, let's go inside before you change your mind." So yeah, I just want to say to our voters, thank you very much. And we give all praise to God. Thank you very much.
Colleagues, yes, you've heard what Gauteng Mackenzie has just said, and I think he's absolutely correct. Whether we like it or not, the reality is that coalitions are on the table for South Africa going into the future. And that because of that, it is absolutely essential, that's what I believe, that we need to succeed with what we are doing at the moment to demonstrate to the electorate that coalitions are the way to go. Failure is not an option. And it plays a huge amount of pressure on all of us to jointly succeed. If I could just assist with regard to who will be the president, Gauteng, the technical committee did address that. We did have that on the agenda one day, and if you want to know, I can inform you, but at the moment we are keeping it at in our pockets. No, thanks a lot. Mr. Bangankosi Dlamini from the IFP, please.
Thank you, Program Director, leaders of political parties, the media and leaders of other parties. We were the last Southern African country to gain liberation. And I thought in my mind, we will not repeat the mistakes that was done by our SADC counterparts when they got their liberation. Robert Mugabe, may his soul rest in peace, inherited a jewel. Nyerere inherited a jewel. But they messed it up with the politics of isms. The past 28 years were subjected to the politics of isms. And there are those who also still believe that isms are going to be the answer. I think what is the answer is pragmatic politics. It's what works for South Africa. What works. That is why I joined the AFP, because I was not really married to these isms, because all of them were conceived by European people out there. Your outright capitalism is from America. It has nothing to do with Africa. Your socialism and communism was in Russia. It had nothing to do with Africa. Therefore, this is a formula that must work for people and what must be pragmatic. There is no isms here, I think, Chair. There is just practical politics. In local government politics, Member Msimang, you will know you were once a mayor. It's local issues. There's no isms in the 16 priorities that we have as a coalition here. Good governance, financial stability, water provision, waste management, sewerage management, electricity provision, infrastructure maintenance, and on and on and on. That's what our people are crying out for. Therefore, this coalition has nothing to do with political ideology or isms. We must not be afraid to be put in a corner. It's all about providing services to our people. When the founder of the IFP, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, addressed us this weekend in our National Council, he said, I'll just quote one paragraph. He said, we know that having all these coalition is not the best situation, but it is the formula through which we can deliver service to our people, and that is our foremost priority. And that is our priority. Where there is IFP, there will be stability, there will be good governance, and there will be service delivery. In the last term, there was IFP in Ekurhuleni, there was stability. There was IFP in Johannesburg, there was stability. There was no IFP in Tshwane, there was chaos. And voters rewarded us. That's why now we're represented in Tshwane. So that's why there is stability. Thank you very much and welcome.
I think I heard Solly disagree with that statement about Tshwane. Thank you. Thank you very much. Advocate Alberts, Freedom Front Plus.
Thank you very much. I'm not going to add a lot to what has been said. I agree with all my colleagues here, my esteemed colleagues. But I think one important thing we need to note here today, we're having a very humble event today. But you must bookmark this day, because this day is a miraculous day. I think 5 years from now, we're going to look back at this day, and we're going to know that this is not only a footnote in history, but this was big history taking place in South Africa. The fact that all of these parties could come together, that they could set their differences aside, whatever differences they may be, for the good of South Africa is truly miraculous. And we want to say thank you to all of our colleagues here, all of our fellow party members. Gauteng, we especially want to say to you, baie welcome into the new coalition that will change South Africa for the better. Not just change for the sake of change. Politicians talk about change a lot. But I always get concerned about what does the change mean. If the change doesn't take us to a better place in South Africa, then a change is bad. We need to get to a better place because the people of South Africa are crying out for hope, but not false hope, based on what politicians typically say, but real hope. And I think the fact that we are here today is so historically significant in that respect. And I know that every party here is going to try its best to play its role to make South Africa a better place for all of its people. We are at the crossroads. We know that the ANC has trouble. We know that the ANC cannot self-correct. All of those dreams that people have, the commentators had, that the ANC might be able to save itself and then save South Africa, those are false dreams and hopes. I think the real hope lies in true action from people who come together with a joint vision to save South Africa. And that's why we are here today. And I want to thank every single party here. It was an arduous road we had to travel. Dr. Corné Mulder had many sleepless nights. And so had many of the party leaders and the other negotiators. And Solly, who's sitting over there, Bishop Dalton, so I can give the names, worked hard to find each other, to find a way forward. And we must also understand that South Africa is very new in this regard. With regard to coalitions, we don't have much of a history. So these are the first steps that we are taking in that regard. A place like Western Europe has been doing it since the First World War, and they are very adept in getting coalitions together and parties to work together who would not normally work together. And we have learned some lessons there, and we're taking some cues from them as well. And that's why I think partly we are here today, why partly we are successful, but also we are successful today. We are here as a coalition because we want to save this country. We want to ensure that people have hope, and we want to ensure that that hope is followed up by action where service delivery takes place, no corruption takes place, where the basics are dealt with, and that people can see that South Africa becomes a beacon for Africa, that the country in Africa can be governed well, and that that message then spread up north from the south into the rest of Africa, so we can see a revival on this continent. And as Gauteng has rightly said, we have so many minerals in South Africa. We have so many minerals and vast riches out on the whole of the continent that just lies there. And we must go out and we must use that to the good of the people, also to the good of nature, working obviously in balance with nature, not exploiting it as we see happening all over the world, but go forward and give our people that hope, followed up with real action. So I say thank you to you that you're here to witness this event, and please bookmark this event. You'll be sure to see in the future that it's part of the big history of South Africa. Thank you very much.
Baie dankie Anton. Kan ek vir collega Raymond Tlayeli from the ACDP, who's one of our members also on the technical committee, representing the ACDP, ask to address us, please.
I did not hear that one. Thank you, Program Director. My greetings to our leaders of different political parties that are here with us today. I will be failing the technical committee if I don't greet the members of the technical committee. Men and women, we spend sleepless nights with, sleeping AMs all the time. But we really appreciate that because it was not all because of us, it was because of the mandate that came from the people of South Africa, the voters from these 3 municipalities, who spoke very well. I really want to speak to them and address them and say to them, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity as political parties to lead you in the way that we have determined. We are not here because we sat around and then we discussed and we decided that after these elections, we will be sitting here with this kind of government, and that is a coalition government. You, the voters, determined and made sure that you determine the way in which you want to be led moving forward. And we are merely your servants to say, we looked amongst ourselves and we said, we have heard your cry. You know, the people of South Africa have been crying through their vote, and they've been crying for leadership of integrity, the servant leadership, the people that are going to make sure that their aspirations are met. They've never gotten that one for years. Otherwise, they got leadership that got them astray. There was theft, there was corruption. We thank them to having demonstrated through these elections that we are no more going to give an outright majority to any of the one political party, but we want all of you to govern us. And this is why we sat down and said, how can we do it? Then we sat down to come up with an agreement that will take care of those aspirations of the people of South Africa, not the aspirations of any individual political party. Having welcomed all the members and the leaders of the parties, I'll be making a very big mistake if I don't welcome the PA leader, Ndate Mackenzie. One thing that makes me to really pick him out, I want to say to him, thank you very much, sir. I'm now convinced that you are born again. I have been wondering what was happening during the elections. I was wondering, Honorable Simanga, that is this PA leader speaking here? Now today I'm convinced. He said it publicly that he's born again. Now here's a challenge. Welcome home, please. You are in the wrong party. Thank you very much, and to our partners, really worked very hard. We appreciate your work that you have put into bringing about. Please remember, this agreement is the first one. We had to amend it, but let me tell you something. Having to go through the amendment to accommodate and make sure that the agreement is solidified in such a way that we've got a stable coalition. One of the most important aspects of this agreement is to build a very, very good governance. You check that one, it says our intention is to establish good governance. And I want to say to the South Africans and the voters in these municipalities, this is the main intent of this coalition. We want to deliver to them a good governance. Good governance has got some priorities in it. If we fail to deliver the services to the people of South Africa as expected, we shall have failed to establish good governance. And that implies we shall have failed to establish a coalition that people of South Africa thought it was the solution to their problem. And we're going to be judged just from that point of view, come 2024. I'm now saying to my leaders and parties that are here, let's remember why the voters brought about this type of governance, and that is quality. It is a trust they put in all of us to say, moving forward, we want to produce good governance. We have been failed by the previous governance, by those that were given majority to lead. And what they saw from that, it was a very, very disappointing situation. It's upon an incumbent upon all of us as political parties to say, come the end of this term, there shall be a change, because moving forward, this is going to be the way forward for South Africa, whether we like it. Many leaders have said it before us, and the voters have said it also. This is what's going to happen. We can kiss 50% plus, 60% plus. For other parties that are wishing to do so, we can kiss it goodbye. South Africans have spoken, and here we are. We are saying to you, as for ACDP, we are committed to good governance. We are committed to providing God-fearing leadership in this coalition government. We are committed to providing you committed leaders who will make sure that your aspirations as South Africans are met before our self-egos. And finally, let me say thank you very much to the members of the media that are here. And it is very important that as we go out and this message go out, that the actual message that this coalition is putting forth is taken forth. And that is to serve the needs and aspirations of the voters of South Africa. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Raymond, for the message that you brought. And now, of course, last but not least, I want to call on Mr. Lakota. And if you look around the table, Mr. Lakota is the elder statesman. He's been around. And I would like to ask him to come and speak to us, the president of COPE.
Thank you. Good day, dear friends. I don't have much to say because all of the very good things that had to be said have been said by those who've gone ahead of me. Maybe what I really need to say is that I agree with all of you. And that's it. Now, let me just perhaps to underline what I'm trying to say. Generations of South Africans have been saying again and again the things we are saying here today. The things which you are saying our people said when they went to these elections. Namely that we are one people. The significant call in my understanding of our history is that in 1955, for the first time, in a really organized form, people from all racial groups of our country, Africans, Europeans, I shouldn't say Europeans, I should say people of European origin, Indian origin, the mixed blood, the people we call colored people. I don't know who colored who, but all of us. And there are many people, some came from the Malay Peninsula, some came from India, others came from the Philippine Islands and so on. There were far more people than the four groups we keep talking about who came and poured into our country. People that came here attracted by the discovery of diamonds, people that came here with the discovery of gold. There are so many people that came from the Greek Mediterranean areas and so on. We are an extremely cosmopolitan people. But in 55, our people, groups of them, grouping themselves into four, met at Kliptown and they said, South Africa belongs to all who live in it. Something which I think the outcomes of these elections, these recent elections, also said that you are a common people. There's no one political party that's going to lord it over us. You guys must find each other. We want you to govern us as one. That is what we are responding to today. And I want to say that I am thrilled when I look at our Constitution. When after 27 years in prison, President Mandela signed that Constitution that underlined this thing, that South Africa belongs to all of us. You look at the opening part of the Constitution, it also talks to this issue. So we are not lost. We are pursuing this consistently. We have gotten rid of laws that sought to separate us. We have made common law, whether you are men or women, whether you like the others or not, you are just one of us. We are all together. So, having said that, I want to say that I confirm my own commitment as one of you that we must work very hard to ensure that young and old South Africans will always be taught, this is your home, you all belong here, the future is in your hands. When we govern, we'll try our utmost to do what you want. You must tell us what you want. You must elect from us who you want to govern and to lead the country. We are not there to tell you who is good to govern you. You are there to tell us who you want, what your needs are, and we will always make sure that those of us you call to govern will act in keeping with what you tell us is to be done. I really want to thank you having had an opportunity to say this to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lakota. Thank you, Mr. Lakota. So, colleagues, you've listened to all the parties being present today and who are all part of this coalition agreement. I want to call on Mr. Peter de Necker, who is administratively assisting us, to please bring the two coalition agreements to the table, specifically dealing with the City of Johannesburg, that will change the governance in City of Johannesburg as well as Ekurhuleni, and to give the parties the opportunity to sign these two agreements. And once we've concluded with that, we will allow questions from you, the media, please. So just give us a minute. Let me quickly go through this process and have these agreements signed. And there is a statement that will be handed out to you at the moment. Thank you. Thank you very much for all the leaders and representatives who have signed the specific two coalition agreements today. I think it's historical, and it's now operative as from this moment, and we are very, very happy that that is the case. In the European tradition, who have a lot of experience with coalitions, it's quite interesting that they sometimes work with colors of the different parties. We are not there yet, perhaps. But if you look at the logos and the insignia of the parties, I see blue is quite prominent, and I see also green is quite prominent, And then there's a tad of yellow there, and then there's the IFP colors as well. So maybe we are moving into the direction of blue, green, yellow, red, and black coalitions. But time will tell where we go. So, colleagues, thank you very much. Let's give an opportunity for the media. If there are any questions, please identify yourself, and then we'll give you an opportunity. So, and please, who you would like to address the question to. I see the gentleman there. Yes. Could we get the microphone just? Yes, thank you.
Yes, good day to you, honorable gentlemen and ladies. My name is Sepo from SABC Radio News. I just wanted to find out, in terms of this, the inclusion of Patriotic Alliance to the coalition, how does it change the numbers on the ground? For example, maybe if you can give us, for example, City of Joburg, we know how many seats, but with the bringing in of Patriotic Alliance, will you be able to pass a budget and so forth? Mr. Gauteng Mackenzie, what convinced you to finally join this coalition? What is it that persuaded you? Is it issues of positions, or it's more than that? Thank you.
Could I perhaps, I'm going to just quickly reply before I give you an opportunity. With regard to the first part of the question, in terms of the numbers and how it changes the composition in the city of Johannesburg as well as Ekurhuleni, if I can just mention to you that the Patriotic Alliance has got 8 councillors in the city of Johannesburg that will come into the coalition, and they've got 4, is that correct? There's Ekurhuleni. Yes, 4 councillors in the city of Ekurhuleni, which they'll also bring into the coalition. And in terms of the composition of the governments, the Patriotic Alliance will have a position in the mayoral committee in the city of Johannesburg, as well as 2 mayoral committee positions in the city of Ekurhuleni. So they become part of governance, and they bring those numbers in, and specifically the city of Johannesburg, it does give the coalition a clear majority to pass budgets and take the necessary decisions when we need to. But Gauteng, would you please like to respond to the second part, perhaps? Could I give you this microphone?
Thank you, thank you. I think your question was, what persuaded?
Sorry, Chairperson. Can I ask Mr. Mackenzie to speak?
Oh.
In the microphones of the recording houses, please, if you don't mind.
Your question, which correctly was, what persuaded the people of the Alliance to join this coalition? You went further by saying that is it positions? Looking at the gentleman here, you can see it's not good looks that persuaded us. You know, very wise man in South African politics once told me, he said to me, you've been in the coalition for more than 25 years. In opposition for more than 25 years. Sitting in opposition. It's very well. He said to me that there's nothing you can do for your people really sitting in opposition. So my question is very simple. My answer is very simple. Yes, but the swing us at the end was positions. We are not rejecting what the fact that we want power to change the lives of our people. Politicians will tell you we don't want power, but when you guys are not here, we fight behind closed doors for power. Yes, the PA want power because every party has what you call a base, which is the majority of people that support that party. And in the base that support us, people that don't have jobs, people that are so used to their cities being thrown in the bin, people that are considered to be other businesses, substandard. It's in the current community. If we, by us joining this coalition, I can make things not only for them, but I cannot ignore the client. If I can make things better for them, as the big Alliance leader, by agreeing with you, then we did join for what we wanted. For the tough road, we negotiated, we weren't supposed to have been here already, and we were not finding each other. And we then found each other. So yeah, We are very happy to be here, and I can tell you we're here for 5 years. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Again, start off by saying that if you look at the table, it's not just all the looks. I can assure you that in not people all our parties, we have those looks. Some of them are present. Thank you. There was a question right here in front. Yes.
All right, my name is Buleli Chiti Jones from ENCA. Maybe firstly to Mr. Mackenzie, we've been told that you're going to be heading 2 portfolios in Ekurhuleni, which is human settlements and health. Does that stem a bit of pressure onto the PA as you'll be heading some of the key departments which you've just mentioned, like health, which have come under strain, particularly under the ANC administration as well? Again, second question, do you still share the same sentiments around the illegal immigrants in the country? We've seen what has been happening with some operations called the dual operations, the Put South Africa First, who are saying South Africans should be prioritized. Will you think that would not compromise some of the talks here amongst the negotiations? And maybe to ActionSA as well, the third question, are there still attempts or rather plans to rope in the EFF into this coalition family as well? Thank you.
Okay, 1 second. Gauteng, you first, please.
I think, what we'll be heading the human settlement portfolio in Ekurhuleni, and we'll be heading with health in Ekurhuleni and health in City of Joburg. You know, for us is that it is, I think it's very obvious for some old politicians that there will be pressure for us now to act the way that we've spoken, to go around and to make sure that people do their work. Because we've been outside criticizing the coalition and everybody else. Now we're on the inside, so we got to walk the talk. And your second question is that I want to tell you, you know, I don't want violence. We've never ascribed to violence. As a man that comes from a violent past, violence is never the answer. To Dula and Put South Africa First and the Patriotic Alliance, I want to put it clear categorically here that they share our position that there should never be violence. But the problem is we should stop being scared to say the right things because we fear some people are going to do the wrong things. It is a fact that our people don't have jobs. You can order food today. Tonight, I challenge everybody listening to me. Order food in this country. And then you will see the South African bring your food. As I've mentioned earlier, in Rahima Musa, the management of Rahima Musa will tell you that our people are giving birth because they're giving birth on the seats there. While illegal foreigners, we've got nothing against people that come here. We are a country, we are not a banana republic. I, for one, wanted to open a business in China. I went through all the hoops in my personal capacity. At the end of it, the Chinese government said to me, your business is too big, you can open here. You can still open it, but you got to get, this place is reserved for locals. Zimbabweans didn't vote for us to be sitting here. We represent our people, and so did Chinese didn't vote for us to be sitting here. If you can see, some of the politicians, that there's no problem with that. They got high walls at their houses. They don't have a problem with expired food and stuff like that. And I'm glad we can do it through this coalition now, where the health inspectors can now be tasked and mandated. But people should not say that we are that is xenophobic, but nobody speaks for the South Africans. And I want to say to you that I've never, the moment I see violence, if you go back to my tweet of yesterday, I even warned everybody to say never get involved in violence. But it cannot be that you shoot at the police helicopter. Our cops are in the air and they're shooting helicopter. That helicopter the police can die, where they fight our police, 20 people with AK-47s. I have been a criminal in my past, and I can't remember any robbery or whatever that we did whatsoever, that you come with 20 people heavily armed. That's war. And they killed our police yesterday, and people say we are xenophobic. I will wear that tag if the truth makes me xenophobic, because we've never said people should be attacked. We are only highlighting what is wrong. You will never go to any country in the world without a passport. We're asking the same. Illegal immigrant means you are here criminally because you have entered the country illegally. And lastly, make no mistake, we have the record in this country to be 2 hours in a coalition. 2 hours. No party has that record. We were there for 2 hours because we were told how we will behave. The PA does not have funders that tells them how to behave, and we are here as equals. And if we walk out of here and the leaders tell me you can't say this, we might be breaking that 2-minute record. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gauteng. I think the answer is quite clear, and it's a very responsible reply in terms of the reality of South Africa, and obviously the coalition operates within the rule of law. And we're all clear on that, so we address the issues outstanding for our people, but we do it in a very responsible manner, as Gauteng just indicated. John, there was a question directed at you. Would you like to reply? John? Would you like to repeat? I don't think John heard what you said. John Moody, yes.
Which John?
1 second, let's give it an opportunity to repeat the question.
The question was regarding anti-robbery and the effects of coalition formation again.
Let me make it clear. We are no shop stewards for the EFF. Not at all. We've also made it very clear that at national and provincial government level, as ActionSA, we will not and we cannot work with the EFF. But having said that, I think this is water under the bridge. We as coalition partners have discussed the matters, the realities thereof, and the consequences of the action that we have taken collectively as a coalition will, of course, be seen in the future. But it was never a matter of wanting to bring the EFF in through the back door whatsoever. It is just the realities of numbers at the end of the day, mathematically speaking.
Thank you, John. Any more questions? There's a question on SABC again.
Just a final one.
Yes.
I just wanted to find out this coalition, how it works. Do you go out and persuade people to come and join you, or it depends in terms of the numbers? We've got the numbers, because what I'm asking is that I've recently, was it Azapo and PAC, they came together. Is there something, are you still going to pursue other parties to come on board, or is that it? Yeah.
If you look at the coalition agreements, you'll see that, first of all, it's basically based on certain principles as a point of departure, where parties feel that they can accommodate one another, they agree in terms of certain basic principles. And that creates a situation where certain parties are more inclined to want to cooperate with one another, and others are in a different sphere in that regard. They may have different principles and different points of departure. That's the first reality. The second reality is, as Mr. Mackenzie correctly pointed out, politics is about power. So if you've got a council where nobody's got a clear majority and there can be a way to form a coalition, then obviously we explore those things. And I think we've gone through that process to a very large extent. This specific agreement deals with these metros in Gauteng, city of Johannesburg and Ekurhuleni. There are other places where there are other configurations where some of these parties are not present and other parties may be present. But once again, I would like to believe that if you want to form a stable, successful coalition, it can't be just by looking at the numbers and get everybody on board regardless of what they stand for, what they believe in, and you build a strong cohesion in that regard. So this today is about these specific metros, and I think we've succeeded in doing that, and we will build on that as well. ENCA?
Just one question. Ahead of the details, obviously the Patriotic Alliance has taken a stand on not wanting illegal immigrants in the country. Is this something you will be discussing regarding the illegal immigrant policy framework
When you have your federal council meeting on Monday?
Thank you very much, and thanks for the question. This has always been an issue that the Democratic Alliance has been very, very keen on addressing, particularly the fact that we have a large number of undocumented migrants in South Africa, and you've got porous borders where your border is nothing more than simply a step across a line in the sand. And we've been very, very clear that we need policies that do two things. They deal with the effects of illegal immigration and the pressure they put on any system. Even the most liberal countries in the world, places like New Zealand and Canada, regarded as having the most liberal governments, have very strict immigration policies where they require a passport for you to come in, they require you to have the relevant documentation. Home Affairs, however, is in such a shambles in South Africa that that is not a case. So we would like to, we're busy working on immigration policy that will do two things. Deal with illegal immigration and the pressure that it puts on the system, but also a way in which we can attract skilled immigration into South Africa. There are areas of the economy where we don't have sufficient skills. I think here particularly of maths and science teachers. And there are other countries on the continent where there's a very high regard for the maths and science teachers there. And we should be able to have skilled immigration to fill gaps where there are gaps in the market. But we should be making sure that we do protect South African jobs and make sure that South Africans are given opportunity. And it's not going to happen in an environment we have illegal immigration taking place at the rate that it's taking place in South Africa. And that is why when you see 30 million rand wasted by Minister de Lille on the washing line, in our border, it doesn't help. It doesn't help. We've got to stop the inflow of illegal immigration. You've got to make sure that you document people who are here. There are genuine refugee seekers who qualify, and they should not be treated as criminals, but they must have the right documentation. And we should be becoming an attractive environment for skilled immigration into South Africa. I would say that not every one of the parties here is going to agree on every issue. But if one goes down to the coalition agreement and looks very, very carefully at it, there are core values and principles around which the coalescence has happened, and it's on that we're going to focus. We've all got to go out at the election and ply our trade to the voters and put our offer before them, and we all have different types of offer. But I would like to think here that the sum of the parts is greater than what is able to be achieved by the individuals. And so there are going to be times where we differ on things, and I think we've seen a few of those already, those hiccups. But the focus of these coalitions is how do we make those cities and towns where we have given this opportunity to work together run well and deliver services. And that should be the sole focus of these governments. Thanks very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we start to conclude? Is there any further questions? Nothing. Yes, sir. Could I just get clarity? A group photo of the media or a group photo of the leaders? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your being present today, for your attendance. Thank you for the good spirit. We are optimistic. We are positive that we are going to make a difference. We are doing that already. So thank you very much. We will continue, and thank you for being here today. Could I ask the leaders just then to present yourselves for a group photo? Perhaps come in front of the table, and the photographer will line you up. They know what they do. Thank you. Thank you very much.